Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot, Crusader Missions Christian Warrior Talk on Monday. What day is it?
It's Monday. I
Monday,
know.
November 22nd of 2021. Holy smokes, this is flying. Baby's almost here. Baby's almost on the ground. Oh, my God. All right, let's do it. Woo!
That whole thing.
Yeah, that whole thing.
This whole situation.
The belly, as we call it.
As you call it.
The belly.
I have never referred to myself as the belly.
Belly.
Although you like to.
You are officially the belly. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
How you doing? Our trusted friend, family member.
Loyal.
Yep. So,
how was everyone's weekend?
Probably better than ours, but got some things to talk about. Some sad things to talk about. Hey, Claudia, happy Monday.
Hi, Claudia.
Excited to be spending Thanksgiving with you guys.
Friendsgiving.
Is that this Thursday?
It is this Thursday.
What?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
I need to get cracking on thawing out that bird.
Hey, D, what
Hi,
up?
Diana.
So, yeah, we have a lot to talk about. Everything from Kyle Rittenhouse interview. What's up, Steve? I don't know if you guys were just watching that on Fox, but as I've long suspected, Lynn Wood is a turd. So it's finally out in the open thanks to Kyle.
Yeah, that was an interesting. I know that we were having a conversation about this on Friday, and someone brought him up, kind of what happened to him. Forgot that he had been the original representation for
Kyle.
And
what's up, Roman? Good to see you.
Hi, John.
Hey,
hello.
what's up, John? Hello, is our peeps. Good. We got 5 names. Oh, there we go. It was like it's finally catching up. So there's a lot to talk about. An awful lot to talk about.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the Wisconsin vehicle attack.
Yeah.
Everyone who has ever taken an active shooter course from me or a situational awareness course from me knows that I have been warning about vehicle attacks since 2013.
Yep.
Literally since 2013.
Linda,
hey,
hello.
Linda, good to see you. I had an event where, Major League Baseball, the NBA, stadium groups from all around the country, et cetera, we're all there. And I asked them what their number one fear was. And they told me drones. And I said, no, you're wrong. Drones require some skill. They require you to be able to fly it. You have limited payload, limited ability with a drone. And there's a lot, they're easily countered with nets or firearms or whatever. You could put snipers and take out drones if you had to, but they also have, you can block them with jammers and all kinds of things. So drones aren't the problem. What I told them is your biggest fear is a four-wheel drive, like a four-wheel drive vehicle.
Like the war wagon.
Yeah. Good driving down the street when 70,000 people are emptying your stadium.
Yeah, I think people underappreciate how much damage
drive
you can do. Yeah.
And hitting the gas and just driving.
Yeah.
And it happened in Nice. And if Nice had been here, there would have been a lot more of it. But I think our time of relative, peace with vehicles, there have been other attacks. They just haven't been anywhere near effective as this.
Yeah.
Is over.
So details are still coming out from what happened.
Yep.
There is the possibility that this was not an intentional vehicle attack.
I don't know how you hit 40 or 50 something people.
So what I have heard, and I haven't watched, tried to piece together footage or any of the kind of investigation stuff that we typically do with available content after an attack. I've heard from multiple sources, he was fleeing from another scene. It turned into a police chase. He, in the act of trying to evade police, went through the police barriers for the parade, going very fast. And so, you could see him kind of going between the people of the parade and the sidewalk for a little bit. And I don't know if when he veered into ultimately the crowd that he struck.
Right.
If he was trying to avoid something else. I haven't seen that close of an angle yet. Or whether it was intentional, but the multiple things was that he was fleeing another one. So there is a chance that he didn't intend for this to be a vehicle attack. It just kind of turned into an ultimate tragedy like that where he went on this attempted evasion during this police chase just turned awful.
Right.
So we'll see. Either that or that's an excuse they're giving him so it doesn't get labeled as terrorism or as any other thing right now.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. But I mean, either way, the outcome is the same, that he hit a lot of people, a lot of kids, and
he plowed into a bunch of girls and wearing Santa Claus outfits and pom-poms.
Yeah. I mean, a parade is one of the saddest, I mean, and that's a typical target for a vehicle attack, but you know how vulnerable people are in those situations, walking slowly down the middle of a street, and generally you're going to have a lot of kids there.
Yeah.
So praying that the fatality count doesn't go up, but I know that there's a lot of people in critical in the hospital, so won't be surprised.
Yeah, it's very concerning, and the fact that it was so successful is just going to make it even worse.
Yeah, whether or not it was intended to be, it certainly is a demonstration that if you want to be, you know, if this guy wasn't and someone was wanting to be even more deliberate with it, that you could make it even worse.
Right.
So we'll have to see, but very tragic, you know. And then obviously there was the sick spinning of the narrative immediately. The journalist comment who tagged Kyle Rittenhouse and said it was probably just self-defense.
Yeah.
You know, just so flippant.
She was fired today.
Yeah,
from multiple things. And she also said that the blood of Kyle Rittenhouse's victims are all over the citizens of Wisconsin, including their children. Like, what insane vileness possesses a person like that?
It's people
the
who
left
are
is
utterly
so
blinded,
evil.
utterly blinded.
They are so evil and compromised.
Yeah.
It is hard to even fathom.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say about the car?
Well, no. I mean, just that you have to understand, everyone, from here on out, we're on the clock until the next one of these happens. And I hope this was just a one-off.
Mm-hmm.
But as people see how effective it was, how can they not? We got Black Friday coming up.
Yeah.
Where you're going to have millions of zombies out there standing in massive lines to go get a TV cheaper.
Yeah.
I mean, every Black Friday we sit there and say, okay, this is the one where they're going to hit. Remember? And now we'll see. I mean, we'll see. We'll see if the cyber deals online puts a dent in the Black Friday.
Yeah, well, I know the pandemic and stuff last year kind of dampened everyone's shopping on Friday. Everyone did more of the Cyber Monday stuff. So I don't know if that'll carry over this year or whether there will be crowds. I'm sure there'll be crowds.
Right.
Especially that plus supply chain issues. Everyone's going to want to get what they can.
Yeah. Yeah, we need a fourth stimulus. Yeah. You know, it's just gotten to the point where we have to really
Hi, Chuck.
Yeah, hey Chuck, good to see you, brother. You know, so again, when we go to a parade, you got to understand that a vehicle attack is very different from a firearm. With a vehicle attack, you have it's a lot easier to counter, right? So when you set up for a parade, you want to set up, by an alley, a place where a car couldn't fit. So an alleyway where you and your family at, where if you see a car start acting erratically, you can bolt into the alley and the car won't fit, or the vehicle won't fit. Bollards, which are those steel bolted down, filled with concrete obstacles that are there. Those are great. You can also change altitude, so stairs. Most vehicles, particularly when they're coming this way, aren't going to make it up a narrow staircase. So stairs with like nice railings or stone railings, or
so it's pretty easy to put yourself in a position where you're not going to be vulnerable to a vehicle attack at a parade. You might have to sacrifice like the best position to see whatever it is in the parade.
Right.
But you'll have that peace of mind that you're saying my family is safe, or I know exactly where I can duck if something like this happens, versus getting caught up in a crowd trying to reach that kind of place. Or, I mean, as you can see from these videos, if you've watched any of them, from what happened yesterday, I mean, it happens so fast. And I mean, if these vehicles are coming up from behind, as a parade is moving forward, they have no awareness of what's going on behind them.
Right.
And the spectators are kind of just absorbed in what's going on right in front of them, and until you potentially hear screaming, and then you start trying to figure that out. But at that point, it's too late. So,
well, that's where situational awareness comes on.
So just pick your spot that you say, okay, I know that a car really can't reach me here, and then you can at least put that risk, kind of dial down on that risk.
Right. It cuts down on what you have to counter. Right. So then you have firearms or an edged weapon or whatever, which can edged weapon, they have to be touching distance. Firearms can be from anywhere. That, is a completely more challenging situation depending on where it is.
Yeah.
But vehicles can be countered very easily if you think before you set up where you're going to set up. Having your back to a wall where you have nowhere to go is not a good thing.
No. Yeah.
And again, they're not going to attack Macy's parade where they have plenty of police and dump trucks. They're going to pick on these small towns who don't have the resources or the training or the understanding of what type of threat they're really facing.
Yeah.
Crashing through a simple wooden police barricade, which is basically a joke, a suggestion. It's not even a sign.
It stops the people who will stop. Yeah.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
So, it's just a really sad day. You should definitely pray for those impacted by this. And
I'm not sure. I haven't seen any release of the 5 confirmed fatalities yet, as
I
far
have not
as ages
either,
or anything like that.
And I think I saw 6 or 7 in critical.
Yeah.
So hopefully that number does not grow. Just really, really, really sad. It just, that Democrat out of Illinois who said that, that they deserved it, or it must have been self-defense or whatever.
Yeah.
It just shows you how divided we are and how disgusting it's gotten. You wonder how atrocities are committed, right? You hear about these Civil War things where roving men with AK-47s do horrible things, and it starts like this. It literally starts like this, where we can dehumanize another group to the point to where we can applaud children being run over by a vehicle from a felon who should have never been out of jail.
Right. Yep. And had been, I mean, rap sheet was long and very
rap sheet was long. They gave him
encounters.
$1,000 because, again, liberals just want cities to burn. They got to create this. There's no reason to vote for a liberal ever, unless you want free stuff.
Yeah.
And you hate the way somebody looks for a reason. Like, they have to drive this narrative. It's disgusting. And I hope the rest of the country wakes up before it's too late, before we're in a civil war, before so much pain and suffering. And it'll take hundreds of years, if ever, to get back to what we were, if ever.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really sad. And I think that people on both sides do it. That, like, when an active shooter happens, people hold their breath until waiting for the motive. And it's a sad narrative that, you're relieved when it's not someone who might represent your cause, and that it's terrorism versus, your white supremacists versus, and because everyone wants to just go to their corner with their talking points. And they just immediately. I mean, I understand that has to be part of the conversation.
It's have to be part of that because the left made it that way. The left tried to paint it as all right-wing crazy nuts were doing this, and they turned out to be Bernie Sanders supporters. They turned out to be the left, and they turned, with the Muslims and all these other things turned out to be, these horrible cases where they just wanted to paint, the conservatives and the pro Second Amendment people. And imagine if a Republican tried to assassinate half of Congress.
Oh, right.
At the baseball game. And we didn't say anything with that. We didn't do anything. We didn't capitalize on it. Right. The media just skipped right over that it was a guy who worked for the Bernie Sanders campaign.
Yeah.
It's just horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really horrible. And, but it just shows you there is no middle ground anymore. No. What can we compromise on between the left and the right? Nothing. You're either for murdering babies or you're not. You're either for protecting yourself or you're not.
Share the Facebook comment. No, the Jesus was a liberal.
Oh my goodness. Go ahead, talk about it.
Well, so we're part of we've talked about this the Moving to Johnson City group on Facebook. A lot of people are members of it, and it's a great resource if you are looking to move to the town or new to the area. And someone posted this morning or last night or something. Looking for a church. They're moving. They were looking for a church, and they put it out there. We're looking for a church that's not liberal, that's not afraid to kind of speak truth and doesn't push kind of all this liberal political garbage. Yeah, I can't remember how they, and that lit some fires, because there's people in this group who are.
It's a realtors group that they use as a lead generation tool, and it really pisses me off because they act like they don't have an agenda, but they have an agenda in there. And there is some useful information because it's become the default kind of what restaurant I'm looking for this, but it's so slanted.
And you're not supposed to, get political.
Inherently, it is left all over there.
And so then someone commented on this post, Jesus was a liberal, and that got people fired up. Jason chimed in, just like a whole, it was, so I was there screenshotting. I was like, let's just see who agrees or like chimes in with a helpful suggestion for this guy. Cause they would then be people, we would want to try to get to know too.
So Lauren's scrolling through screenshotting before they delete it so we could find like-minded individuals in the area.
So it didn't last very long. The post, I went back to try to find more later and it was gone.
I ended up calling and speaking with the guy.
Yeah.
And he's coming and we're going to, hang out.
Yeah. But it was interesting. And there was, several people kind of chiming in agreement on this Jesus was a liberal thing. And that, us wacko Christian, our version of Christians are totally twisting. It's sad how we twist what Jesus was to be this, supportive of gun toting and all of this stuff. And it was an interesting thread.
Yeah, it really was. It was.
It highlighted too. I mean, it was people who probably called themselves Christian also.
Well, that goes back to my whole point of I don't think you can be a Democrat and be a Christian.
Yeah.
I think that you may have fire insurance, but I think when you get to heaven, you're going to be held accountable for all the unrepentant murdered babies that you contributed to.
That's an interesting question. Because obviously it's if you're not the person directly getting the abortion, but
you're voting for it,
supports it, whether or not that was what you're voting, what you were really voting for, and it was just kind of a by proxy support. You could certainly argue that you then take on that sin.
Without a doubt, I think they're going to have to answer for them. I fear for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I fear for their souls that they're going to. They're going to be in hell because of it. And they may have been good people, and that might not have been the issue they were voting for.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, by supporting it, that's part of the deal. There's no hiding that the left is going to vote for as many abortions as they possibly can.
Right. Well, and then you also, I mean, so they're also obviously the party that supports all of the LGBTQ stuff. So yeah, I mean, I mean, you could pick an issue, and it's again just it's the question of does your vote, whether you're like voting for the environment or whatever, but your vote also then supports the party that puts those things in action.
Yeah, it's either biblical or it's not biblical, and unfortunately, one party is on the opposite side of God on just about every single issue.
Mm.
Hey, Lena, good to see you.
Hi, Lena. How are you?
Long time no see. But
From what I've seen on Facebook, she's been busy.
yeah. So all interesting. I mean, we're heading for a dark place, and I bring back to my three-state solution: the East Coast, West Coast, South Coast. I don't know how or when we'll get there. I'm very optimistic that Americans aren't as stupid as we all think.
Congratulations, Lena. I hope it went
Lena.
well.
I hope it went well. I hope that Americans aren't as stupid as we think. It comes down to, I got sidetracked on here when I was reading that, but I can push
your
back
three-state solution.
Yeah, the three-state solution is I don't know when that's going to happen. I am optimistic on this election after this, but the press is working overtime. Like, they won't say anything critical about Biden. Like the standard that they judge Trump and the kid gloves they treat Biden with.
Yeah.
When anyone can see he's senile, everyone can see he's crazy. Everyone knows that life here is way worse since he took over.
Yeah.
And they won't talk about any of it. And it's disgusting. And the fact that we have family members that are so stupid, they can't even see it. Stupid. Like, stupid. There's no other way to call it. They're stupid for not being able to see how much they're being manipulated.
Ignorant. Yep.
I got into an argument with somebody the other day, and they're so brainwashed. They couldn't even entertain the conversation about the jab and everything else. That it's just ridiculous. They were just, their biggest answer is, "Where'd you get your PhD?" And I'm just like, I don't need a piece of paper to feel smart or to think I'm smart. I know I'm smart.
Yeah, to be willing to do your own research, think your own thoughts.
Yeah, the challenge to that, Chuck, is that they weren't a self-governing. In Jesus' day, they were not self-governing, meaning that Rome set the rules. And here we are in an elected society where we're Caesar. So we are under our own authority, but with the voting bloc. So we can't hide under some ruler unless because we vote our rulers in. So we are absolutely accountable to those decisions, as you said there. But we are enabling it. If it's against the law and somebody wants to go kill the baby, we're not going to be implicated in that. But if we purposefully legislate that in there, that you can murder a baby on the table after it's born, I don't know what to tell you there. I mean, there's no way that I can see Jesus condoning that.
No, well, and I think that in his refining that pro-choice to mean free will, yes, we have free will,
but it's not a utopian society where we can do whatever we want.
But that free will might be that we choose to sin, and then we will pay the ultimate price for that sin if we don't repent for it, if we think it's all fine or don't care. So I mean, sure, it's pro-choice, but that doesn't mean that there's no wrong decisions.
Yeah. So, for example, if we passed a law that you could kill everyone with red hair, with red hair, you could just, no matter what, for what reason, you could do that. We would be complicit in that, even though it wasn't against the law, right? Because we voted for that to happen, and those atrocities were committed on our behalf, whether we pulled the trigger or not.
Right. No, we're saying the same thing. And so is Chuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, he's not saying that. He's not saying that there's going to be no consequence for voting in a way that is a sin, or that
Right.
Supports a sin like abortion or trans stuff, or pick your issue.
Right.
So he's using pro-choice kind of as free will. But
Right.
yes, I mean, we are going to be held accountable if our free will choice is ultimately sinful.
Exactly. And this is his whole case here.
Mm-hmm.
Hitler made it legal to kill Jews, but it was immoral and sinned, I think is what he's trying to say, against God.
Yeah.
Sinned against God, sinned against, all those people. I mean, it's crazy. Like elections, free will has a consequences. Exactly, John. Exactly. So, again, it's about rallying around the family right now. It's about circling the wagons where you're at, because again, I think it's going to continue to degrade as the left realizes they're losing America. Like, you're about to see more protests, like over Kyle Rittenhouse. People are rioting in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Why? California, why?
Well, it's the same.
Why is this a racist thing when he shot 3 white dudes?
Right.
Like, there are stupid idiots out there who think he shot black people and he didn't shoot anybody black. He shot 3 white people.
Yeah, well, yeah, they are trying to tie it to the fact that he came in response to the protest that was about the Jacob Blake shooting, which was about black issues. So, but it's all twisted and doesn't make sense if anyone.
There's no logic to any of it.
From it. Yeah.
It is all irrational. It's all insane, and we are.
Lennon, because it was at a BLM riot, so they tie it to racism. Yeah,
right, exactly. Riot that the police should have diffused, but police were ordered not to do anything. So a 17-year-old kid had to sack up more than all the police officers did. That
great
is
tact. It's very. I mean, and I don't know if you want to branch into anything that we learned from the interview. I mean, he is such a put together
kid.
Yeah. Young man. I mean, he's 17, turned 18 while he was in jail.
He's a man now,
and so, I mean, you can tell from that night, you can tell that he was good under pressure, composed, thoughtful, that he had put some work into having this skill at using a firearm, but then even just in how he's carried himself since then, how well spoken he was in this interview. I mean, I'm sure there's been lawyer coaching up the wazoo, but he seems like he's a mature, thoughtful man.
Yeah, I mean, watching him under pressure, getting hit, beat in real time, running to the police, trying to turn himself in while being chased and beaten and all. For him to show the restraint that he showed.
Yeah, not many people would be that. I mean, with when you watch the tape in kind of real speed, it happens so fast. Yet he was able to analyze, okay, the gun's not pointed at me. Now the gun is pointed at me. Now I can shoot. And like the blink of an eye.
That's why he's free. Because the only reason why he's free, Tucker said it tonight, is he could prove it.
Yes.
He was guilty until proven innocent, instead of innocent until proven guilty.
Yep.
And that's the only reason why he's free today.
Yeah.
And then you have these satanic, evil Democrats out there saying, we need to have the feds look at this case and retry him federally.
I've seen that. I've seen that they're going to try to come after him for like some smaller thing as with one of the other, not one of the deaths, but like just trying to expand on a charge. So, I mean, yeah, they're not going to let him be.
It just sucks. And I wouldn't be surprised if they raid his house at 6 a.m. tomorrow and take him back away in cuffs after all this.
Yeah.
Because the FBI is 100% the Gestapo. They are Nazis right now that are running around in the weaponized arm of the left.
Hopefully there's enough people in the right positions to be like, guys, you got to let this one go. But yeah, I mean, now it's his turn to go around and have some reckoning with all of the people who's defamed him so.
Yeah, well, I hope he sues them all, and I hope he's a millionaire very soon. I hope CNN and MSNBC and NBC and all of them. I hope he takes them all. I hope Joy Reid is out of a job.
Yeah. About Biden saying we need to refund the police again. I didn't see that.
I didn't see that. What a surprise. So stupid.
So then
the sad thing is, though, there's some union cops that'll actually buy into that. The same idiot union cops who told me to vote for Obama and Biden when I was in. I'm like, you're out of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You're out of your mind.
But the union said so.
The union said Biden's pro-cop as the day is long. Mm-hmm. He'll have our backs. We'll get all this Homeland Security money, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, and your job will be hell.
Mm-hmm.
And I was right. They were wrong. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Well,
Jason Perry was right.
But they did get the money, and then their job became 4,000% harder, and now everyone's trying to retire early.
Yeah. Yeah. No one's happy there right now. But yeah, so we mentioned in the very beginning, if you haven't had a chance to watch the interview tonight that was on Tucker, it's worth it if you have any interest in kind of his point of view from the whole case and everything that happened. But he shared about that. We talked on Friday about Lynn Wood and kind of wasn't he the counsel in the beginning and what happened to him. And he shared some information about just how much Lynn Wood, and I think it was Jim Price, something like that, took advantage of the situation to fundraise, keep him in jail. They said it was safer for him in jail than to be at
so they fundraised to get him out of jail, had over $1 million that they could have bailed him out. They left him in jail so they could pocket
he went in like very beginning of September, and at some point in September they had more than enough to bail him out, and they're like, they didn't file. They're like, you're safer in jail, and left him in there until Thanksgiving time. I remember he got out just in time for Thanksgiving last year, so like November 20th, something like that. And so just continuing to fundraise basically to fill their own pockets. And so it certainly makes, Lynn Wood obviously was a huge name in all of the Trump stuff. So, and he said he got a lot of people to believe a lot of stuff that he said. So it certainly makes you wonder how much he twisted, how many people he took advantage of in that situation. How many of us were suckered by all that stuff that, at some point people started to be like, you've said so many promises and nothing's come from it.
Yeah.
And he kind of faded away too, but I wonder at what point like Trump realized it, or so hopefully he doesn't surface again.
Yeah, I hope he's held accountable. I hope that everyone knows that he's, what he is, because he's
was he the lawyer though that did the I keep forgetting his name. The school kid. Sandman. Yeah.
I'm
Nicholas
not sure
Sandman.
if he did.
Wasn't he involved in that? Or
sure.
I wonder if it was one of those same situations, like he started it because he jumped on,
press,
a popular case. And then when it actually came down to it.
Yep. Exactly. Lynn Wood is PSYOP. Exactly. Lynn Wood has been a lifelong Democrat. He cost us the Georgia Senate race by stirring up a lot of trouble there. And, he's you got to be careful. So I put up the Patriot Crusader mission swag shop. I just ordered these new coats. They're made on demand. This is embroidered over here.
Yeah, very nice quality.
They'll be up. By the end of the night, I'll add them to the store. They're not there right now. And so.
Are there color options?
There are other color options.
So you can like pick combo kind of thing.
Yeah. So, so yeah, I like it. It's nice. It's that sweatshirt material on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything, all the embroidering they do is really nice. I blocked them already.
Yeah, so he just got another comment in before you. Can we delete comments too?
If you put them in, there. So we can't say stuff like that, Kevin. So we had to block you on there from commenting. It's we're in a scary time. That's why getting to a place Yeah, I got rid of him. That's why we came down to Tennessee, to be around more like-minded individuals, so that when the lynch mobs want to come for us, we weren't the only ones there on our block like us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and because that could easily happen. No one knows when a cop's going to have to shoot a bad guy.
Or where,
Or,
right? Yeah, I mean,
when or
it
where.
happens
It could
in any of
happen
these small
anywhere.
towns, but yeah.
You know,
Yep.
it's that could happen tomorrow, and you could have so many people. Your whole life is upside down. The news media turns your small town into a circus, and you've got a whole bunch of people. So,
read that.
Yeah, hold on. So go ahead, read it. So I put that up there.
All right. So Dan says attorneys Lynn Wood and John Pierce are seeking the $2 million donated to Kyle's defense fund that they used to bail him out. Lynn Wood runs the fund, so he feels the money should come back to him. Nuts.
What a criminal. What a criminal. What a
Sick.
turd.
Yeah.
Absolutely sick. It just makes you disgusted at lawyers. Like we needed any more help to be disgusted with lawyers as a profession, but he's the worst. He's the worst. And everyone held him up everyone held him up as like this icon.
Oh, he reveled in it. Yeah, of course.
You know, all these, you know, he started going to big rallies and getting people chanting his name. You know, remember what's her name with Unleash the Kraken and all this other garbage.
Sydney Powell.
Yeah, it's just like what's going on now? Who's where? What's
you know, well, and it sounds like they were pushing all this misinformation about Kyle, going on all of these interviews, telling him to go on interviews, going on all these interviews on his behalf, and calling him a part of a militia, like all of this stuff. That once he got out and saw the extent to how they were spinning and misrepresenting him, he was like, "What on earth have these guys done to this narrative?" You know, all for the press.
I just thank God again for Tucker Carlson. The only one out there brave enough to do that. You know, I mean, he's been calling people out left and right. I haven't caught him in any of the craziness. He hasn't put out disinformation. You know, he has commented on the election, but only what he can prove.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, you know, I mean, the more that you learn about these people who were the forward facing from the Trump stuff in the beginning. And I think that the shame is it discounts what could likely still be there as far as issues that happened with the election. But then all of these wackos get up there for the wrong reasons. You know, they're the mouthpiece for the movement and just make the whole thing look ridiculous. Yeah. Make everyone who believes it look ridiculous. So it's unfortunate that people, I mean, it's the natural human condition that people will step in to take advantage of something.
It's all disgusting. It's just so dirty. You know, it's a sad tragedy for, you know, everyone involved. This kid's life will never be the same.
No.
You know, he has to walk around with security now.
And he's still hoping to go to college and actually like attend in person.
He's not going to be able to go to college. He's going to
Arizona,
be driven out of his best bet would be going to Liberty University. That's the only place where he would get a fair shake.
University of Arizona or something, right? Yeah. You know, so there certainly would be a big enough population of
the worst thing he could have said was name the college he's going to. He should have kept it under wraps.
Yeah.
And just showed up there.
Yeah.
But you're going to have all these, I mean, every college out there except for the Christian ones are dominated by liberals, and they're going to drive them out and they've been poisoning the minds of their students this whole time. So the kid's going to have the hardest life ever.
I'm honestly surprised that they hadn't pulled his enrollment.
They will now that it's out there. They're going to decline.
But like when he was, I mean, over the last year, he's been blasted as this like white supremacist murderer. Yeah. I'm surprised that they, that he's even still enrolled.
Well, if they decline him for any other reason, he can probably sue them for discrimination.
Yeah.
So, but at the same point, he's better off going college overseas.
Take a year off. Like you know, let this. The country moves on to the next drama pretty darn quick.
Right.
You know, so let it put on ice for a year. recover. But I mean, he seems like he has a career, what he wants to do. So he's driven for that still.
Milligan College is Christian college with nursing, and I would not recommend it. Huh. Is that where you're going to school right now?
Not recommend it in that it's, I see Christian in quotes there. So they don't walk it out very well, Lena.
Is that the one right down the road?
Yeah, the one right here. Yeah.
Okay.
So Dan says Lynn Wood did get Nicholas Salmon a lot of money suing CNN and New York Times, but his conduct with Kyle's case destroyed his reputation. Okay, so he did represent Nicholas the entire way through. Well, I mean, you can see why Kyle jumped to use him.
Right. I mean, he had a lot of high-profile cases. It's just sad.
Okay, she goes online to one in Alabama.
Oh, you can go online anywhere then, so it doesn't really matter what state. You can just pick the most affordable one and go.
Yeah, that has a degree that you're seeking.
Like all name recognition with college, who cares? Just get your piece of paper and go.
Especially these days.
Yeah. So, anyways, that puts a bow on the Kyle Rittenhouse story thus far.
Mm-hmm.
The Wisconsin vehicle attack. Hillsdale has a good reputation. So let's move on to the next topic, which is something we've been talking about a lot lately. We've been talking about an awful lot in our Bible study at 7 a.m. or 7-ish.
7:15 usually is usually by the time we're
7:15 Monday through Friday we do a Bible study. And we've been talking a lot about science in the Bible.
Yeah. So last Friday turned into kind of a Bible study on air where we were diving into Genesis and we had our verses out and all that stuff. And so, we continued to explore that over the weekend and then this morning.
Yeah. I mean, I had to go back and it reiterates everything. Never believe something just because a man or a woman told you that.
Mm-hmm.
Go back and check and do your own research, particularly when it comes to the Bible, and get multiple takes on it from both sides. Don't just go to everybody who agrees with your flavor of Christianity and see which one rings true to you.
Yeah.
And I find myself countering an awful lot of common Christian beliefs that I do not believe are correct. Now, they're not salvation issues. It's not whether Jesus is God or not. It's whether the earth is 10,000 years or way older, right? I can't even put an age on it. To me, I think that Christianity or Christians say things they think instead of things that they know.
They say that things that they think as if they know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it is a theory that Christians have the young earth theory where the earth is 10,000 years old. It is a theory that the earth is, I don't know how many billions of years old. You have to decide which one is correct. It's a theory that on which 7 days. Now, God built the earth in 7 days. 7 days, right?
Right. You're not
That's what
disputing
that. That's what the Bible said.
The Bible. Yeah.
Now, if it's 7 24-hour days or 6 24-hour days with a rest, or 7 days in heaven, or who knows what, right? There's like 12 different versions out there.
Yeah.
They all have their merit. They all have their own merit. And to say is, I think, 100% incorrect, and to call people a heretic because they have a different theory than you that does not involve the pillars of Christianity
Mm-hmm.
is ridiculous. And what it does is it does massive harm on an outreach towards atheists or people who have not been exposed to the gospel, who are being asked to check all reason,
Mm-hmm.
what they've been told, all reason at the door.
Right.
Right. So, I believe that God created the universe, period. All right. That's really important. All right. God created it. I believe that God created the earth, and whatever he called 6 days and rested the seventh.
Yep.
What again? I don't know how we can say that was 720 or 6 24-hour days when the sun and the moon, when the stars weren't even created until day 4.
Yeah, our mechanism of determining 24 hours, right?
Right. So I don't know. You also have to understand that God was revealing this to Moses through the Holy Spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Moses had to understand what he was writing down, right? Which Moses had like a 4th grade education compared to what we have now.
Right.
Maybe less.
Yeah.
So, it's, again, I'm not saying I know. All I can say is
of course not.
what I believe. And, I said some stuff that I've heard other pastors that are mentors of mine say, in the Garden of Eden, there was no death, and God killed and skinned the first animal and made death. And I'm seeing evidence that that's not true.
Yeah. I mean, so we talked about that. You talked about that, I think, on Wednesday.
And everybody was
Joel,
vegetarian.
and Friday. And then you listened to a Gordon sermon on Saturday, and it kind of refreshed your thinking on it and made you willing to question even what you just recently had been.
Well, it just made me like be like, oh, you idiot, Jason. Why did you not go and check before you did a teaching on that? Right? And, I was just building on what every Calvary Chapel pastor has ever said.
Yeah.
Right. And I knew better because I have been in Gordon's, lectures where, he shreds them.
Yeah. And I know that, because we had talked about on one of our Bible study, just our 7 a.m. ones, and with it, and I was trying to figure out kind of where it said that there was no death.
It doesn't say,
and why would if you look at the teeth and the digestive system, but even just the teeth of all animals, if they were originally created to be vegetarians, why
would they have canines?
What are now predators, meat-eating predators, why would they have teeth structures that are not optimal for being vegetarians from the beginning, if that's what the diet was? So yeah, it didn't. And I know, I've heard Ken talk about that, and kind of in the end times, they'll go back to eating. There will be no death again. They'll go back to eating grass, lions.
And again, I'm not so well versed yet where I can tell you why those people who we respect, who are very brilliant people, project Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, backwards to the Garden of Eden. I don't know, but scientists, based on their theories.
That's why it's best to speak directly to him.
What is that?
Is that a turkey?
Looks like a turkey, yeah.
It's a turkey.
It is best to speak to him. But the thing is, I've had people comment on our group page saying that, we shouldn't go with knowledge. It should only come from biblical wisdom. And I think God gave us these brains to pursue him, to know him by growing our knowledge and our wisdom, not being dependent on him, and using science to prove God.
Yeah, I think you have to run everything through the lens of the words contained in the Bible and say, does this science support that or counter it, or kind of does this thinking support that or counter it? But as you said, God is the creator of science, and so if you can use something to better articulate one option of something that is not clearly, you know, outlined, as far as there are some things in the Bible are detailed and some things open to interpretation. And so if you can
for
use
example,
science to argue one way better than the other, then that might be it.
We had 3 study Bibles open this morning.
Yeah.
And they all conflicted with one another.
Yes. All of the notes.
All the notes conflicted with one another. They told completely different stories.
Yeah. And so, if you're only, the same way that we're doing this right now with politics, if you only go to your one news source and you take whatever they feed you, that's going to be what you then think, if you're not willing to go out and compare and contrast. And I think that that's certainly even more important with the Bible. And then taking it in prayer to God and saying, kind of help me discern which of these resonates the most with me.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason, something to consider. Per revelation, there will not be a sun and a moon in heaven, because God's light will illuminate heaven, just like God illuminated the earth in Genesis before the sun and moon created. I believe that, right? I believe that. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he did it. I understand that.
Yeah, because we know that let there be light was pre.
So for all sun. So again, and maybe somebody's got the quick answer to this to make me look foolish, but for everyone who believes in the young earth, we know how fast light travels, right? And this just came to me. I didn't read it anywhere. No one told me to come up with this example. So some third grader could just tell me, Jason, you're stupid. It's this. How are we so there is light from things extremely far away that we can measure, where it takes 100 million years for that star to send that light for us to be able to read it.
Mm-hmm.
We would have to be around since then for us to be reading that sun or that light from that star that far away.
Mm-hmm.
So 10,000 years is impossible.
Yeah.
Am I missing some logical thing here? So that star in itself would have to be here.
I think unless you just say God can do whatever God wants to do, and so he
does everything crazy?
He can have made it so that we are already receiving some of that light, the same way that those, he can reach down and make life, in the vegetation and the animals and all that stuff. I agree that your thought process there makes sense.
My whole thought on this is, again, there are diehard Christian scientists that are coming up with these theories, right? They are not trying to disprove God. They're not Darwin. They're not these other people. And that's what happened is Darwin came out with evolution and said that we evolved from monkeys, and then Christianity lost its mind, ran away from science because they thought science was going to prove that God doesn't exist. And if anything, the older the earth gets and the older the universe gets, the more special it makes us. To think that God took the time to do this over however many years, it just makes it even more. Yeah, exactly, Bixby. That's my point. And, I don't know if their way of measuring, I don't know if their way of measuring is, that's got to be built upon theories as well. But I agree that it's definitely over 10,000 years, like the traditionalists say. And I think, and I don't have a problem with that. The problem is most leftists treat time as this magic wand. Over time, enough randomness, anything can happen.
Right.
Right. And it's like, no. It's not a magic wand. Right. So again, I just think that we have to do better. If we want to stop losing our kids in colleges, at the rate of 70%, where they're raised in Christian households, told that tigers ate grass and that we were only here for this long and these types of things. That, and then they run into the buzzsaw of college and they fall away because they can easily disprove them if we take the, again, it's taught as fact, even though it's theory.
Yep.
We have to educate them better, open our eyes, and be more, figure out what we're missing. If the science says this, God isn't wrong. We are misinterpreting. I understand that. I don't understand how that does anything, Dan, right? So God's light was there, and I understood that. I actually brought that up on Friday because he made Moses's face glow from being there. So I don't think it's that. I'm just saying that right now,
at the point that the stars were not God's light, but that the stars were made, then we're dealing with that. How long does it take from the light from that star?
If they were made on the fourth day, right, when he said the moon and the stars to do all that, we know that it takes X amount of time for that light to travel to us.
Yeah.
So we have a start date for the stars. It's the same day as the earth. So if it takes that long for us to see that they were both created at the same time, if we understand that, there's no way that our dates are right.
Right.
Right? Because it started back then, and now it's going to travel. So anyways, docs, howdy, folks. Long time no chat. Been TDY. Super interesting and out-of-the-box chat. Love how this stuff stretches ourselves and our thoughts of God and all that's possible. It is, man. This is the best part about the Bible, is that we can sit here as God-loving Christians and respect one another and disagree and talk about these things like we should on most issues.
Well, and I think too, I mean, like you were feeling kind of bad, we were talking,
awful.
One way, exploring, not talking like you knew, exploring a thought process last week, continuing to explore it in your off time over the weekend, and modifying and being willing, which so many people, especially people who are in a position of authority, if you will not. They get, even if they start to recognize that they believe something different, but they've preached it long enough, they're not going to want to come out and say, I've changed my mind. I think it's very refreshing to being willing to continue to engage in a dialogue and say, obviously, as you said, no one can know.
Right.
Let's continue to talk about this. I'm continuing to learn, trying to help you guys continue to learn. And I think that the takeaway is be willing to engage in dialogue and exploration and modifying your thoughts. This is not a one-way, this is what I know to be true or believe to be true, and it's not going to change.
Yeah,
I think that it's refreshing
the most important thing
in this church world where so many pastors do get up, and even if they preface it with like, this is what I believe, they then go on to talk about it like it is so, and so all of those congregants who go out after that one line of thinking, and that permeates every way that they interpret the Bible. Then they go out to college, they go out to real world conversations, and they get countered with what's a legitimate other way of looking at the Bible, and they fall flat on their face because they've never been willing or encouraged to look at any other way. So I think that it's very healthy. I don't think it's a problem that even just last week we were saying, okay, we're diving into Genesis deeper than we've ever looked at it before. This is what it seems like on its face. Oh, now I've learned a little bit more.
Right. So I understand. It's a shame that folks can't admit they sometimes may be wrong. We're learning, and iron sharpens iron, and opens minds, and opens. The most important thing, guys, is our motivation. Our motivation is to understand truth. Jesus Christ is truth. It's to understand his word. And I don't believe it's wrong for us to pursue that in all these ways and to have these types of discussion where we maybe you'll change my mind. Maybe I'll change your mind. We all just want truth.
Yeah. So So Dan says, I don't know. I'm pretty steadfast in the Bible says what it means and means what it says. God doesn't want us to be confused or unsure. 6 days of creation means 6 days, I believe. And so
And
the
you're
only
welcome
question,
to believe that.
is it in that he told, that's the account to Moses that Moses then transcribed, would he have described that in the way that Moses would have understood a day? So that would be the literal day is a day, because otherwise would he have explained it to Moses in the time frame that he actually did it?
One of the theories out there, which I don't put much stock in, but is believed by a lot of brilliant people, is that day one with God, he told Moses this. Then he came back day 2, God told him this. So the days weren't of creation. The days were the days that Moses was with him, and he was chronologizing day 1, day 2, day 3.
Oh, I'm understanding. Okay.
On that. I don't believe that.
Yeah,
that is one of the theories out there. Mm-hmm. And some brilliant people believe that. I understand, but none of us until we get to heaven know what night and day in heaven looks like. Right. And since our night and day wasn't really, we had no sun and we had no moon to measure night and day, I don't know how.
And then Doc says, I think, not sure, but Seventh-day Adventist believe day means 1,000 years.
Yeah, and they say that,
there's some references
to that later.
I can't remember what
as a day, a day in heaven is to 1,000 days or whatever. And I don't even think that's enough. But, again, I don't know. And I just think that we have to, because I don't think Moses could understand 1 billion. I don't think Moses could count that high, to be honest with you. And I don't think it's important. God's telling something that happened a long time ago that no one had recorded. Mm-hmm. And he's relaying it to Moses and what God thinks, and what's a day to God. Mm-hmm. What is a day to God? Because that's the perspective of the person who's doing it. What is a day to God? Is a day to God 24 hours on earth? I think not. God is eternal. So I don't think that it's his day of working and his day of rest that we can steal that and make it ours. We take everything God does, shrink it down to 1/1,000,000th, and that's what we try to model.
Right, because that's the only way we have to grasp it.
Yeah. Right. So, the most important thing is that if we don't know, we shouldn't say we know, because the second we say we know, and someone could come up with a device that
finish your thought.
That a device that can measure something and say, okay, this is 2 billion years old. I can prove that beyond a reasonable doubt that this rock is 2,000 or 2 billion years old. And if they can do that, that then puts the whole Bible into question. Don't you guys see that if we sit there and we say we know, and a scientist can come out, multiple scientists, and recreate it and do it, and like gravity, we know what gravity is. That's a law. And if we can apply those things in a way where we can prove that something is way older than that, prove it, then the whole Bible is a fairy tale. Because it allows inerrancy to be thrown out the window.
This is an interesting point to talk through. The thing we have to realize is that God can create something with age already. Like when he made Adam, he was not a baby. He was a full-grown man with age. The same could have occurred with the earth.
I completely agree with you, Ryan. And that is the only explanation I've heard that has ever made me question it otherwise.
Yeah. So then you have to say, well, how I mean, yeah, that's something that you just have to kind of take on its face and say that could be. I mean, you'd have to apply that. I mean, if you believe that the science can show that things are much, much, much older than the new Earth model, you'd have to say, okay, that is what it would have to have been. If you believe in the 6 day is a day, that he made it old, but like, okay, so why would he have made it that old, or what to what end?
I mean, that is the first thing that anyone has said to me, and I want to thank you, Ryan, to make me even think that the other way was possible.
Mm-hmm. And it's a great point.
I mean, I don't know if he's going to create everything billions and billions of years old to do that. It's possible he could, but what's more likely, that God did all that to trick us?
I was going to say, because
or he just made it and we're misunderstanding like 2 sentences in his book.
Because I mean, I'm just trying to think of what would the.
I mean, are we that
not
brilliant,
to try
or
to,
is God
get
that
into
brilliant?
God's thought process, but why would he have made the earth so much older and immediately sown in this doubt with the whole 6 days a day is a day is a day thing?
But he didn't make a full-grown earth because, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
He didn't make a full-grown earth because we hear him creating it. We hear him creating it, right? So, again, what is more likely? That God did all this so it could fit one sentence or a few sentences in the Bible, or maybe we have the perspective wrong. And I'm just going to say it's more probable we have the perspective wrong, and we're repeating, like there's things that are repeated that are not, that become untrue over time, and they're no longer true. And I think this might be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But
all right, so Lynna, I think God is so caring that he speaks in ways we understand. Dan says, sorry, his instructions to Moses, God wouldn't fall short in his endeavors. Diana, I wish we could have Jesus come to Thanksgiving and have him sit down and explain it to us. I think that we all would wish that.
Yeah.
Big Species, I don't think we're able to fully comprehend God. Love is there to bridge the gap.
I don't need to comprehend God. I know I can't. I know it's impossible for our limited intellect to understand somebody who wrote DNA and designed all these other things and did all these things, right? I don't think I can understand him. And that was the atheist in me had to understand him. Mm-hmm. The believer in me does not. I am just saying that science is authored by God, and God had gifted us science and these brains to use. He didn't give us brains this big. He gave us brains this big so we could pursue him. Mm-hmm. And we're pursuing him, and we're coming to understand him more. And I think the more that science unlocks, the more it's going to prove God, not disprove God. Right. And it's going to challenge things that people may have said and been like, wow, we've totally got it wrong because we were ignorant, not because God was wrong. Mm-hmm. And so go ahead.
All right. So Lynna says exactly, he made a fully grown earth, in her opinion. Dan says, if you start questioning what the Bible says, then God failed in communicating to us, and the Bible is not trustworthy. Sad way to look at life.
That's not what I'm saying at all. The Bible is trustworthy. Man is not trustworthy in doing it. I had a guy who was on our page the other day who was talking about that Adam had been secretly, like it was today, how we read, into Adam and Eve, and some people said Eve tempted Adam with the fruit, mm-hmm. and other people like Eve, ate the fruit and then brought it to Adam and said that my eyes have been open, you should eat it too. And then somebody else injected, no, he totally wanted that fruit the whole time, so he left Eve alone out there with that so she would take it and whatever. I don't know. So it's like we project our own baggage into things. And I'm saying that we have to read it with no assumptions other than that God is good, God doesn't lie, and what's going on here. And then it's our perspective, right? Looking at the perspective of the people who were there and what was going on and all that. So what is a day to God? I don't know. I have to believe it's different than a day to me. An eternal being who's been around for all of time is a day.
Yeah, and I agree that that as far as I don't think that he failed in communicating to us. I think that there are many things in the Bible that are not detailed enough to stay with certainty. And that's not a failure in communication. I think that it, for whatever reason, God left some things with different ways to interpret it.
Did he create fully grown trees? did he, at some point it started somewhere. What came? The seed or the tree, right? The sapling or what? So again, I don't know. I'm just saying that if science can prove things some way, we have to come up with an answer to that, or else we're going to lose a lot of people that we shouldn't have lost.
Yeah. All right. So let's see here.
I don't want to doom a vast majority of our population to hellfire and damnation because we were lazy intellectually.
No. When Boy McCoy says maybe he thought it into existence with the mystery of time still very much a mystery.
Sure.
Doc says it's the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings to seek it. This hunger is good. Like you said, you're pursuing and seeking. Love it. Thanks, Doc. Lena, we have not been to the Creation Museum.
I would love to. We should all go as a group. I'd love to organize that sometime early next year.
Where is that one?
It's right near the Ark. It's in Kentucky.
The Creation Museum is right near
I think
the
it's right across the street or something. So I'm sure I would love to see it. And again, those are going to be a bunch of theories by a bunch of Christians as well.
Yep.
Here's my point. And you guys probably only know Gordon Hugenberger because, I've said it, but Gordon Hugenberger is probably one of the brightest minds in Christianity. He's got a scary amount of education. And on top of that, he was the lead pastor at Park Street Church in Boston, Massachusetts, downtown Boston, Massachusetts, for 30 years or so, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
And he has the responsibility of being the lead pastor to Bible-believing Christians who are the head of physics at Harvard or MIT or all these other colleges around there who are studying this stuff in real time. And he has a physics degree from Harvard. I'll pull up his things, not that anyone cares, but so his education is a bachelor's in arts, summa cum laude, engineering and applied physics from Harvard. He also received the 1974 President's Award for the highest GPA in the country. He earned a Master of Divinity degree from Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary in South Hamilton, Massachusetts. He did his PhD in the College of St. Paul and St. Mary's, which today is the University of Gloucestershire in Cheltenham, England. He also studied at Oxford Center of Postgraduate Hebrew Studies, which is known today as the Oxford Center of Hebrew and Jewish Studies. And he headed up Gordon Conwell forever, which is a seminary in Massachusetts and whatever. Mm-hmm. And so he was a very impressive guy. But not only is he impressive, his congregation is impressive. These are people who love Jesus, who are they're on the cusp. They're splitting atoms at MIT.
Yeah.
They're doing things that the rest of us don't even pretend to understand. And they believe in God, and they're coming to his church, and he is ministering to them. And if he gets
reconcile their career and their faith.
Right.
Yeah.
And they are going to secular hellholes, and he is bolstering their faith. So he has an extreme amount of pressure on him to not say ridiculous things.
Yeah, I mean, so yes. So as long as and he's able to articulate arguments that roll in what can be said via science and marry that with what is said in the Bible.
He's an archaeologist.
Yeah.
And a physics. He understands the Big Bang and the Big Flat and all these other things. He understands all that because he can break it down and he understands all the theories. And this is a guy who believes that God created everything. Mm-hmm. That's what he says right out the gate. God created everything. He loves Jesus. Mm-hmm. I've been in his living room. I've been at his around his coffee table. He was a friend. He blessed my motorcycle as a cop, and I never wrecked on it because of that.
Yeah.
This is a good man. All right. And he loves Jesus with all his heart. And he believes that Christianity does an insane amount of harm to itself by fleeing science if we just believed enough and trusted God to believe that God is omnipotent and he's not threatened by our science.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So let's just keep going until God stops us.
Mm-hmm. Dana, so it's in Kentucky.
6 hours away from us.
Here, we'll say. So let me put this. So yeah, it would be a trip to go see the Ark and the Creation Museum.
Well, the Bible is confusing and argumentative, unfortunately, John. There have been people arguing about it since day one. Catholics and Protestants have been killing each other for a very long time. There are people who have done things because it's been in the hands of men for a very long time. And I don't know, when God speaks to you, does he speak in your own language, or does he echo thoughts into your head? I don't know. And if he said day, did he say in one of your days, Moses, or was he telling a narrative story in one of his days? Because if he said, hey, Moses, one of my days is 1,822 billion days larger than yours, Moses would have fell over and been like, what? I don't even understand that. Mm-hmm. Right? So again, you're looking at us as equals to God, and we are less than bacteria to God, right? So we are an image of God, which means we're like a poor replica, 1 to 1 millionth model down here, and God is way up there. Mm-hmm. So, in a book that is written in minimalist text, you're telling me that when Jesus says, hate your mother, hate your kids, hate your if you do not hate your mom, hate your kids, hate your wife, and all this stuff, you can't love me, that is not confusing? Mm-hmm. He could have chosen any other word, and he chose hate. So don't tell me, stop looking at the Bible like it's a fairy tale, and then it has to be an easy to stuff. The most potent being in all time authored that Bible. Mm-hmm. And sent it through very flawed people to get it to us. Now, I believe everything in there is perfect and accurate, but I think that, for example, if you believe Revelations, is still, most of it is still to come, I think you're wrong. I believe, like many do, that most of it was already accomplished by the time 70 AD, I believe it was 70 AD, when Jerusalem was sacked and it fell, and that John was not talking to people that he didn't know thousands and thousands of years later. He was writing to his friends in Rome who were being persecuted, and he had to write in code and appear crazy saying all this stuff so they could figure it out to take hope and survive.
With that particular example and line of thinking, what would the point of including? I mean, everything's in the Bible for a reason. So if that is something that was so specific to a time period when he was alive and in context of the years to follow, why would that be included in the Bible that is for all time and for all people?
Because it was written by John, mm-hmm. right? The last living disciple, I believe, at that point. And there is valuable things in there. If he's going back and he's talking about prophecy, which was to happen shortly later, mm-hmm. within a generation, as Jesus said, after John, mm-hmm. he's telling people what's going to be coming with the 7 hills, which are the dragon. Again, I can't quote it verse for verse. That's not my thing. If you want to see this, watch Doug Wilson. He'll blow your mind. Doug Wilson is probably the leading guy in the country on postmillennialism, mm-hmm. which is basically saying all that stuff. So go ahead. We got some stuff to catch up on.
Okay. All right. So Michelle says it's on my list of places to go my next trip back down south to visit family. Dan said Moses wrote it as God meant it to be written.
Exactly.
Windblow McCoy says, deeper you go into science, the more paradoxes arise and the more magic begins to seep in. God is at the edge of understanding.
Agreed.
Doc is curious what the original language states versus many translations. Is day the closest word for the original word, like love and the multiple meanings?
Well, we have the Blue Letter Bible. We can go all the way back to the original language. And so, we did go back. We did dive in. We watched it in the ancient chicken scratch. Mm-hmm. Where they have the borderline hieroglyphics, and then they have the Greek, and then they have the English for it. And, so again, we can look at those things. It doesn't matter if he doesn't, it just depends on if you want to call yourself God's equal and if you think God's going to put himself on our terms. And I don't see that.
Why are you saying
that a day for God is a day for us? And I think a being that's been around forever might measure time a little bit different. And if the whole point is by day 4, we still didn't have 24-hour days yet. So literally the first 3 days of creation were without a clock, being the sun and the moon.
Right. Unless God God is the one who would have determined that the sun and the moon would dictate a 24-hour day. And so whether that modeled his time in heaven.
Yeah,
like why would he have come up with something different?
Sorry, say that again.
God chose, he determined the sun and the moon and that there would be 24 hours in our earthly day.
Right.
Would he have modeled that off of the time
heaven
frame?
Sure, I would imagine it would probably do it at the same time as 1/1 millionth of a scale. And I'm making that number up. Right. So heaven is infinite. Heaven is bigger. We are, God's image, way less than him. Right. And I would say that our clock is probably, again, I'm making assumptions here. I'm just guessing. I'm literally thinking as we're going here. I'm not trying to commit any heresy. I just imagine that everything we do here is to some sort of scale of time when you're considering God. So,
so John says, correct. It's been in the hands of men with their own thoughts and agendas to be forced on others. Have faith in the Lord and open your heart to its words.
Which is what we're trying to do.
Healthy debate. Dan says, you can't just read Revelation. You have to look back at older prophecies like the prophecy of Israel returning.
Isaiah and all the other things. I get it. All these Bible scholars say the same thing. I'm not the only one. Again, read Doug Wilson. He will challenge you. The problem is most people don't want to be challenged in their biblical beliefs. They want to sit in their safe space and they don't want to have things challenged. And I think you really have to challenge that yourself and look at what these other brilliant, God-loving, brilliant people have to say.
Dan says, God said the first day was a day, Yom, a 24-hour day. Why question it?
Did God sit there and say, Moses, this is a 24-hour day? If so, I didn't see that. So, and again, you could be right, brother. You could be right. I just disagree. What's going on? Everything okay?
I just thought I was hearing noises outside, and I was just asking if Diana. She said no.
Do you want me to go out there and check? Can somebody look out the window? We've been having car break-ins here, so I don't want to wrap up the show like that.
She says she's getting in the shower.
Okay, stand by.
Okay. All right. Oh, he's opening this door. Yeah, we've had several warnings recently from neighbors who've come by being like, yeah, there's some teenagers coming by, breaking into cars, and someone came by today. They said that we had like weapons and stuff in our car, and all they took the car keys. And then I had in the Suburban today. I came out and the glove box and the console were both open. So we think that they came by here. I haven't driven in a couple of days, so not sure which day it would have happened. But so we think that perhaps they visited us as well on a night that hadn't locked the car. So being a little extra aware of bumps in the night. It might have been nothing. Nothing. it's hard to. Thought I was hearing bumps, but
I don't think anyone said God didn't get it right, Dan. Don't try to paint me into that thing. What I'm saying is that a day to God could be different than a day to Moses. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not the only one saying it. People with IQs that make me look like a borderline idiot are saying the same thing. So either we're super smart and thinking that it's that, or we're not, or who the heck knows. I'm just saying it's worth looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are great minds on all sides of it that have points to articulate their belief in it. And I think the fact that everyone can bring good points to the table means that it is open to interpretation, and that is not questioning God. That's not questioning what God put in the Bible. It's just, as with many other things in the Bible, there are instances which we have. It's a little open-ended, and it doesn't mean he's wrong, that God's wrong. Of course not.
So keep going. I'm gonna pull up a day.
Brandy says, how many words are in the Hebrew language? How many words are in the American language? Could that language number barrier affect the language translations? I don't know, just asking. I'm not sure either, Brandy. Yeah, you'd have to look back to kind of what was originally said that Moses wrote down. I mean, we're not going to solve it tonight. So John says, I agree with Dan. A day is a 24-hour day. And so then for the people here who believe that a day is a 24-hour day, and so that means then the earth is, from the point that God made it, that things are pretty darn young. How do you reconcile that with all of the scientific findings about things that are millions and billions of years old? Do you go with what Ryan, I think it was, said about that he can make things aged already, and so that's why we get things that are that old? And then why would he have made the earth? However, I mean, so in the young earth model, but why would he have made it that old to begin with? So just curious, work through that whole process. What are you looking up? Year or day?
I'm looking up day, which according to Strong's, it's H3117.
What is that? Noun, Strong's?
Gender, singular. Strong's breaks all the words down and ties them to the original Hebrew. And
okay.
Pull it out. But as you sit here, you can go down. This is how it is. And God called, God, the firmament in heaven, and we're the evening and the morning, the day. So you have Yom, which is what he said.
Yeah.
And then it's Strong's word, which means HNEMSA, day.
Mm-hmm.
And you pull it over here and it pulls Strong's H3311. So Yom, masculine noun, it is used, the root meaning to be hot. A day, time, year. A day. B, a day, 24-hour period, as defined in the evening, morning, a division of time, a working day, a day's journey. C, day's lifetime. D, lifetime period, year, temporal references, today, yesterday, tomorrow. Again, it's all those meanings. Which one is they using from that? So, yeah, exactly. What is that chicken scratch? Exactly.
So Dan says, I continue to read and study the Bible in depth and believe that it's perfect when read as is and not trying to find other meaning. The word is perfect, complete, and fully understandable as written.
Okay, so then please explain this to me. When Jesus says, I can't remember what passage it is, when Jesus says, you cannot love me, this is paraphrasing, unless you hate your child, your husband, your wife, your son, your mom, and your dad. And the word he chose was hate. Is that simple to understand? Am I supposed to hate my wife, my son, my daughter? I pull it up so you can see it.
Luke 14:26. If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple.
Hate. All right, so I'm going to share this with you so that you understand and you tell me this is simple and easy to understand. So you're seeing it with your own eyes. If anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple.
Hey, Trish.
Hey, Trish, 100%.
We're to never stop seeking to learn or understand. So the Message takes that and says this. Anyone who comes to me but refuses to let go of father, mother, spouse, children, brothers, sisters, yes, even one's own self, can't be my disciple. Anyone who won't shoulder his own cross and follow behind me can't be my disciple.
So that's the Message, which is the least accurate of all Bibles.
I'm just trying to see. That's the first one.
Whoa. But Dan, you're adding to that. Jesus said you have to hate your father, mother, wife, and children. Why are you expounding on that, Dan? Do you not see my point here? Jesus spoke as clearly. Hate is a very specific word. He could have said what you said, but he didn't. He didn't say comes before. He didn't say any of that. He said hate. So now you're adding man's words to it, which is exactly what we're trying to do on the other side, but you're criticizing it. So you see my point?
NCV.
I don't know.
If anyone comes to me but loves his father, mother, wife, children, brothers or sisters, or even life more than me, he cannot be.
I've heard it done that way as well. Go to King James.
I'm just saying.
You can pick a bunch of other ones that change the meaning of it.
I'm picking out the very, very few that have tried to remove the word hate. Most of these are leaving that in there.
Yep.
And so I'm just trying to see how they might be.
Do you see my point, Dan, brother? I mean, man, I love you, and I'm not trying to disagree with you. I'm just saying that it's amazing to me that you'll take plain speech such as hate and you'll try to make that mean something else. But here I am trying to talk about the word day when I have evidence that it's impossible, as we know it, for the world to grow in 7 days and the universe to appear in 7 days, like impossible. Whereas you're saying that the word hate is like, you're stretching that further than I am. And that's my point on how dangerous this can be when we start not trying to seek context. Context is everything. Mm-hmm. You could read the Bible and come up with a completely different thing if you didn't understand the original context. For example, if I said Jason is Jewish and he went to Germany, right? Today, if you just read that in itself in the basic Bible sense, Jason went to Germany, you'd picture me getting on a plane and flying over to Stuttgart, Germany, and going to Oktoberfest and banging big beer steins together and singing Oompa Loompa songs or whatever they sing over there during that time. Whereas if I changed one thing, Jason went to Germany and he's Jewish in 1939, well, that isn't that long ago, and that changes everything because obviously technology has evolved like crazy since then, but also Jews were being murdered by the millions at that point. And it changes the complete context by just a small shifting of years, never mind the scope that's in the Bible. So we have to continue to pursue it with a ravenous enthusiasm. Aloha. What did I miss? What did I miss, Wimblow McCoy?
I don't know.
So, anyways. Yeah, I understand, but then why didn't he say love more? He chose the word hate for a reason, right? Again, for a reason. Of course, he doesn't want us to hate one another. Jesus spoke in a lot of hyperbole, gouge your eye out, cut off your hand, do all these things on. And why can't, if we're willing to change the word hate, you're completely changing the definition of the word hate that he chose. That is the word hate all the way back to the original Jewish language, right? But you're not willing to consider the option of day being anything other than 24 hours when it's God measuring what he did in his time. That's my point, right? That's my point of how you're willing to take something that's spoken so plainly that is in the original version whereas I just read you the Strong's version, day has 14 different meanings in there. And one of them is a 24-hour day. Not all of them are a 24-hour day. So again, it's a time of meaning between a day and a night that doesn't mean.
I think we pulled this up on Friday. Can you go
pull
up hate again?
Just give me the verse. Luke 14.
Luke 14:26. All right. So Trish says, study and show ourselves approved means to seek out more information and deeper understanding. The word is living and active, meaning Holy Spirit will point out relevant verses for a heart, matter, or situation to teach us more. I think that I think exploring all of this is healthy.
It's exactly what we're supposed to do.
I think the problem is when you get so when on one side or the other you start to call someone a false teacher or you judge them for having an opinion other, and not saying that this is what any of you are doing tonight, but it often brings out more of a sin in you than it does in the other person.
Outline biblical usage: to hate, pursue with hatred, detest. 2, to be hated, detested. That's the original.
Yeah, and it's not like he expands it to say hate their sin, hate their flesh. I mean, and anything that's qualifying what about those individuals you're supposed to be hating. So yeah, that certainly it lands hard.
So again, we can't just look at the Bible with fairy tale glasses on. We have to look at it and look at the hard meaning of it. When you look at Doug Wilson and you look at these other giants in the faith, they're willing to look at this in a harder way than we are. We're willing to just chop it all up to fairy dust and all kinds of things going on when they can sit there and do that. I know, brother. It's all good. Brother, I have to tell you what I tell my wife. When I get loud and I get animated, I'm excited. I'm not angry.
I'm not mad at you.
I'm not mad at you. I'm just fired up, man. I'm just fired up.
That's why people were checking in on him after that Ken Christian's drink episode, being like, "Are you okay?
Yeah.
Worried about you." And you're like, yeah. I'm good, man.
Hate is a bad word in the original form, Wimblow McCoy. In the original language that it was written in, it was an awful word, right? But Jesus was talking in hyperbole there, where he's contrasting, because we've got to look at the context, right? The context is he's saying the love for him should be that much more than it appears to be hate. That is what most scholars will say. Mm-hmm. Now, I haven't dug into that as much as I'm diving into Genesis, because there's not as much science behind that, and it's not as critical. It's not as critical, right, to winning over Christian curious people who have been educated in secular schools forever and who are coming at you. Now, I find it interesting that Luke 14:26, I've never seen that bumper sticker anywhere. I wonder why that is.
Yeah.
Right? That's an interesting that I've never seen that bumper sticker anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that would challenge the heck out of everyone. The Bible is here to challenge us. We have to be grown. We have to grow in our faith and our understanding. If we just sit in our comfortable, if we just sit in our comfort and just sit there and be like, wow, God, I just love you so much. You're great. I love you. If you're not out there making disciples and you're not pursuing him with every ounce of your strength, which is what you do when you love someone, right? When you love someone, you try to understand them and you get to know them in every aspect. And that's what we're called to do with this book. That's all we got. That, prayer, and the Holy Spirit. I'd love to hear him, Dan. I'd love to hear him. I don't know if you're ever going to be in town, but I'd love to have you on the show if you ever want to come on the show. Mm-hmm. Any one of you guys that want to come on the show and call in and be a little screen like this, we would be like this, like we do when we have guests on. You're more than welcome. I'll give you the code to log in and you can come on in and join us. That's what I've been hoping for so long.
Yeah. You guys got to take my spot. Start practicing.
Yeah, I mean, got to practice with someone.
Call out for co-hosts.
The second the baby's on the ground, Lauren's out.
Poof.
She's gone, and then it's going to be me monologuing. You want to see Crazy Jason? That's when you'll see Crazy Jason.
Guys, call in. Now they're all like, we want to see Crazy Jason. If this is not Crazy Jason, what are we going to get then?
Oh, God. So anyways, guys, we've been going on for a while now. I hope you guys found this interesting. I love talking about the Lord. I love being challenged and challenging other people to grow in this. I love that whole God created the earth or the universe at age. That's very interesting. Mm-hmm. An old universe. I love that idea.
Yeah.
That would be a way for everything to fit nice and neat. Right?
Yes, it was certainly.
But I gotta, and I wonder about that. I wonder if that's one of the 12. It's got to be one of the 12 theories out there that God created. Just like
12.
Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting though, like that hasn't been brought up with these pastors who speak boldly and firmly on the new earth, a day is a day is a day thing, that they don't try or that hasn't been brought up in anything that you've heard to reconcile that with science.
Yeah.
Because that is the most plausible thing that I've heard. Yeah. As how you can marry those two things up.
Dan, of course I do a one-on-one. I prefer to do video one-on-one so that we can actually see one another so things don't get lost in translation. But yeah, 100%. Birthright. Let me see.
Put that comment up. It's a Facebook comment so people can see it. This one?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to switch over here real quick. Show that. This is the comment he's working on looking up. We can look into it.
Sure, I'll check it out. Can you give us a brief lowdown?
Timothy's new book.
Sounds good, Dan. So anyways, I think that's a good place for us to wrap it up unless there's any other questions.
I think that's probably more than people expected tonight.
I enjoyed the heck out of this. Thank you, everyone, for being patient with me. And again, we just want to pursue the truth with everything we have.
Yeah.
And if you have any ideas, it's great.
Yeah, appreciate everyone chiming in with their.
He's doing interviews now and drops on YouTube. Is it something that's appropriate for us, Trish? I mean, can you give us?
She said she can send some via private message.
All right, we'll see that. All right, thank you, everyone. God bless you, Lauren. Take us home.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for this evening together with our wonderful community. As always, we are so blessed by each and every one of them, the time that they commit to spending with us on a Monday evening. Lord, thank you for this healthy and vibrant dialogue that we've been able to have tonight, and all of the passionate opinions that have been shared tonight, and in a manner that is loving. That's so lost these days to be able to have debate in which we agree on the core matter, that you are God, you are all that is true and right, and that we are here just trying to interpret the text that you did give us. And just, I pray that you can help each of us recognize that we all have the best of intentions in exploring that word, and help each of us explore that in a way that we will open our eyes to something we might not have before, and be willing to modify opinions and change where we need to, or be affirmed that we are exactly where we need to be in our belief, Lord. So just thank you for the ability to share this conversation with everyone tonight. It's invigorating and encouraging to know that people care enough to explore it to this extent. Lord, we also pray for anyone who is affected by the vehicle attack that happened yesterday. We pray for the souls that were lost, and we pray that they are with you now. And anyone who is injured, we ask that you allow them to stay here with us, Lord, that you can place your healing hand on them, because there are loved ones who I'm sure are desperate to hear good news that they will be able to come home from the hospital with them and go home. And Lord, thank you again for the encouraging verdict from Kyle Rittenhouse, and everything that is brought to light there, and what that means for justice. And it's such an encouraging sign that we all needed, that the system can still work as we need it to in our country. So thank you for that. And I just pray a blessing of peace and health and safety over everyone listening tonight, that they go out into their week with vigor and encouragement in seeking you each and every day, that they give their best time to you tomorrow, and every day forward, give their best time to you in the word, seeking you in prayer, and that you reach back to them in those moments. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, everyone. God bless you. We love you. And we'll talk to you. We'll catch you on Wednesday.
Good night.